Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, the motion picture you're about to see contains scenes so terrifying, the public must be given grave warning.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Bloody Binge podcast presented by the Owl Light Network. I am your host, Sewer Dweller, and this week we have a doozy. We went back all the way to 2012 and flew all the way to Japan to watch Dead Sushi. Dead Sushi, first time I watched this movie was when I was working at Blockbuster. I used to manage a Blockbuster years ago, and this was one of the ones that came in. It is in the, I guess, same genre you would put like Machine Girl or Frankenstein Girl versus Dracula Girl. Basically, they're not really exploitation to the point where they were horror comedies that were just so bizarre and on another whole level than you would ever watch like for an American horror. And I freaking love them. Um, so hopefully you guys will enjoy this week. I hope you guys do get a chance to go check it out. It is streaming for free on Tubi, and just be prepared because it is in Japanese with English subtitles. The subtitles don't bother me too much because from where I'm from, we used to have jets flying over like 80, 100 to 80 feet above the house, and you couldn't hear the TV anyway. So a lot of times we kept the subtitles on. But of course, first, as always on the Bloody Binge, we will talk about this week's haunt industry and horror movie news. So this week, it's a very not a very strong horror week this week, but we have so much haunt movie news, haunt industry news to talk about. Basically, like I said, it's getting close to July. Everyone's starting to make their announcements, start their hiring, all that good stuff. We say it every week. I say it every week. If you are interested in working in a haunted house anywhere near you, I don't care if it's with a theme park. I don't care, if it's a theme park. If it's a regular haunted house, a haunted hayride, a trail, anywhere haunted. If you really want to go audition, go interview, go talk to the people who are doing it, because I promise you, you will get hired. There's got to be something severely wrong. I think even at the Hell's Dungeon, I started there last year, and we only turned one guy away, and that's because he was creeping people out, and not in a good way. So he's the only guy we ever turned away. He walked up to be a volunteer, and he was dealt with when it became revealed that he was creeping a lot of people out. So, but yes, keep an eye on all the local haunts, all of your local haunts. Go apply, go work, go have fun. But first, we're going to travel down to Orlando, Florida, because Universal put out a couple of things this week. Um, First of all, of course, last week or the week before, they announced that their first intellectual property that is going to be a haunt at Halloween Horror Nights is going to be A Quiet Place. They did announce that it will be in Orlando and in Hollywood. So whatever coast you live on, you're going to get to go, and you're going to Halloween Horror Nights, you're going to get to see A Quiet Place. Well, yesterday they actually announced their second intellectual property that they're making into a haunt, which is going to be Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And it will be both at Universal Studios Orlando and Universal Studios Halloween this coming Halloween season. In this brand new haunted Halloween Horror Nights attraction, based on this year's Ghostbusters sequel, an ancient artifact has released a chilling new entity, Garaka. Try not to freeze in fear as he freezes people before your eyes. Only the Ghostbusters can stop you from getting iced. The haunt debuts at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando Resort on Friday, August 30th, and at Universal Studios in Hollywood on Thursday, September 5th. Don't forget though that they are doing that preview night for Universal Studios Orlando on the 29th of August, but it is like $350 to go to it. So I expect a lot of the streamers you'll see there, like a lot of the vloggers and a lot of the Disney vloggers and Orlando vloggers and streamers will be there and paying that. I can't imagine the average citizen, the average Disney or Orlando fan are going to pay $350 per person to go just for just to avoid lines, Which I mean, it'd be great if we could, because from what I hear, I've never got to go to Halloween Horror Nights, but I hear that the lines are like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 hours long for some of them. But moving on to the all new Ghostbusters Frozen Empire haunted houses at Universal Orlando and Hollywood and Orlando bring the latest installment of the global Ghostbusters franchise to life, as well as iconic ghosts, creatures, and characters from the beloved classic series and authentic haunted houses that capture the horror and humor for which the films are known. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire will transport film fans of the film franchise to New York City, where the Spengler family teams up with the original Ghostbusters, who are now at the helm of a top secret research lab for their ghost busting enterprise. With the daunting discovery of an old relic that has set free the vengeful spirit of Garaka, who threatens to freeze everyone to death, Ghostbusters, new and old, must join forces to protect their city and save the world from a second ice age. As guests venture through the haunted houses, they will find themselves in the sinister world of the supernatural, from Ray's occult bookshop to the Ghostbusters' new high-tech lab and containment facility to the dank New York City sewer system. Fans will embark on this petrifying journey alongside the Ghostbusters, encountering iconic ghosts who slime and nefarious villains who are out for revenge, all while trying to escape an army of ghastly creatures bent on cracking bones and turning their veins into rivers of ice. As they navigate their way through the freezing and frightening conditions, the Ghostbusters will need to I guess, this is a very badly written article, will need to use their wit and humor to defend the city they love from a terror too chilling to believe. And then it just goes on for the packages and everything, which we've talked about. It's extremely expensive. Um, that's for both. Let me get past this story. There's a lot to talk about in the world of the haunt industry this week. A lot of the theme parks are starting to announce their stuff and everything. But also, Universal Studios Hollywood has announced Dead Exposure Death Valley as the second haunted house for Halloween Horror Nights 2024. That's probably their third by now, but um, the backstory involves a secret lab's experiments to create super soldiers going wrong and resulting in radioactive zombies. Dead Exposure, an original IP, first appeared in 2008 at Universal Studios Florida and was followed by Dead Exposure Patient Zero in 2018. Dead Exposure was one of the 8 haunted houses that were featured during Halloween Horror Nights Reflections of Fear in Universal Studios Florida. An original theme at the event, the house brought guests through the last photographs of Charlie McPherson as he moved through a city full of zombies. Located in Sprung Tent 2, the house features strobe lights, timed to camera clicks to simulate photographs. In 2008, Universal decided to tie in all 8 of their haunted houses to Patients of Bloody Mary. This haunted house would tie in to Charlie McPherson. He had a fear of seeing scary images in the pictures he took and went to Bloody Mary's office to get help. She ended up locking him in a glass case surrounded by the scary faces in his photographs, giving him the choice of either suffocating or facing his fears. Charlie chose the former and upon death became trapped in Bloody Mary's world where he faced off against zombies. The house would have a unique twist as the house was kept very dark and was painted with UV colors. Every few seconds, a bright light would flicker, simulating a camera flash. The house took place during a zombie apocalypse. During the aforementioned photographer, Charlie McPherson was facing off against them. In 2006, Universal built 2 hurricane proof tents behind the World Expo area of the park, specifically for holding Halloween Horror Nights haunted houses. The house would be located in northernmost one called Sprung Tent 2. The house was very popular and is praised as one of the scariest houses in the event's history. It won the House of the Year award in 2008. Let me move this over a little bit. All right, there we go. A tribute scene from his haunted house would appear in the 2010 Haunted House Horror Nights: The Hollowed Past. That same year, the house would receive a semi-sequel house titled Zombiegeddon, although the strobe effect didn't appear in that house. The house would receive a proper prequel in 2018 titled Dead Exposure Patient Zero, setting the story in the 1980s Paris and restoring the strobe effect. This time explained as a side effect from an experimental vaccine rather than a camera flash. So that's one of the beauties and one of the great things actually about Universal Studios is they have huge, long backstories for their haunts. Um, that came from God, I can't remember the website now. It was almost like a Wikipedia style page for Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. They have Universal Studios has a huge fan base when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights that will talk about rumors and everything like literally from November 1st on. And it's a weird it can be a weird community, but it can be also a very knowledgeable community as you can see here. But moving on, so that's gonna be a really interesting haunt. And we'll see if they bring back that camera. That camera flash thing sounds really cool. Um, so moving on, we have Universal Studios Singapore has also announced Sweet Home as its first haunted house for the Halloween Horror Nights Singapore 2024. Sweet Home is a wildly popular Korean apocalyptic horror series that became the first South Korean series to enter Netflix's top 10 in the United States when it premiered in 2020. A second season premiered in 2023 with a third set for this July. Sweet Home follows the story of I'm going to butcher these names. Cha Hyun Soo, who after moving into the rundown apartment complex known as Green Home, bands together with fellow residents to battle monstrous humans driven by their desires. Halloween Horror Nights for Singapore will take visitors into Green Home's key locations, including Cha Hyun Soo's apartment and of course the basement. Halloween Horror Nights Singapore returns for its 12th year from September 27th through November 2nd, 2024, and features 4 haunted houses, 3 scare zones, 3 shows, and more. So that's gonna be interesting. I haven't seen it. I'm not the biggest anime fan. My kid is. My youngest is. I'm pretty sure he hasn't seen it because we have to check it out before he watches it. He is only 11. Um, but that just sounds good. It's good that each park is catering towards their fan base and that. Because moving on now, we're going to Universal Studios Japan. They have teased a partnership with Chainsaw Man. This isn't a tease anymore. Actually, I did find out it is 100% legit. It is going forward. Um, but there is a partnership with Chainsaw Man, the wildly popular, award-winning horror anime. Details are sparse, with Universal stating the famous Chainsaw Man will be appearing for the first time at Universal Studios Japan in Osaka. Experience a dark and chaotic world where unpredictable developments await. The cult favorite title revolves around a teenager called Denji, who has the ability to transform his head and arms into chainsaws. Created by Tatsuki Fujimoto, it first appeared as a manga or manga. I always say it wrong. In Weekly Shonen Jump in 2018 before being adapted into an anime in 2022. In the story arc, Denji acquires his powers after making a deal with a devil dog and goes to join a government run agency that fights against other devils threatening Japan. Both the manga series and anime adaptation feature graphic violence and overt sexual references with comedic undertones, which have prompted several countries to classify Chainsaw Man as unsuitable for audiences under the age of 18. So that's going to make it interesting and on how far Universal is going to go through with that because I'm thinking now. Here's the thing. I'm thinking from an American standpoint, we are a little more sheltered, and a little more what's the word I'm looking for? Prudish than most of the world. Um, so Japan might go all in. I have no idea with that one. Um, be interesting to see. I don't see myself getting to Japan, so I will be watching for videos. All right, I think that's all the Universal news this week. We talked last week about the dark was it the dark world they're creating with the classic Universal monsters. So let's move over to Disney because tickets for Oogie Boogie Bash will go on sale to the general public yesterday. It went on sale yesterday, and the waiting room to purchase will open at approximately 8:45 a.m. Pacific time. Magic key holders will have the opportunity to purchase from a select amount of pre-sale tickets beginning June 25th. This way too late for that. And June 26th for Inspire key holders. Believe, Enchant, and Imagine key holders. Well, looks like June 26th is for everybody. And then before tickets are available to the public. Oogie Boogie Bash sold out immediately in 2023. In addition, Disneyland Resort announced new Halloween time offerings running from August 23rd to October 31st, 2024. Mickey Mouse and Friends will debut brand new Halloween costumes at Disneyland Park, while Mickey's Trick and Treat Show will entertain guests during the daytime at Disney California Adventure Park for the first time. The Haunted Mansion will use a virtual queue only featuring Jack Skellington's The Nightmare Before Christmas overlay with a new gingerbread house design. That's always one of the greatest things about Disneyland versus Disney World versus Magic Kingdom, I guess you could say. Disneyland always at Halloween time, and I think it runs through Christmas, um, changes up the Haunted Mansion and makes it Nightmare Before Christmas themed. And it's awesome. I've seen the videos. I would love to get to it. Um, but unfortunately, again, it's not in the cards right now. Um, but how about we move back over to the East Coast to Pennsylvania because Hershey Park also announced the return of its Hershey Park Halloween seasonal event and Dark Nights immersive haunt experience for haunting dates for more haunting dates than ever before from Friday, September 13th through November 3rd, 2024. And here's everything you need to know. This is basically their press release. Um, it's really interesting watching all these parks, these amusement parks and the haunts opening earlier and earlier every year because they're starting to realize just how profitable and how much money and how popular Halloween and haunted houses are anymore. Um, when I get this, we're actually going to go through a list of haunts that are actually open this weekend, between this weekend and next weekend. And it's a great list. It's a good list. I mean, it's a big list. And people are going. People want to go, you know? So, but here's the press release for Hershey Park. For 25 days, including Halloween night on Thursday, October 31st, guests can experience 5 haunted houses, including the all new Estate of Evil haunted house, 3 scare zones with the new Darkstones Hollow Battle for Spring Creek Scare Zone, 50 attractions and dark coaster rides. Hershey's Trick or Treat Trail, and more, all included with a Hershey Park Halloween ticket. The 8 weekend event will also feature exclusive culinary creations, including the return of the popular Dark Nights Tasting Pass, plus the new Avenue of the Afterlife Path with themed food and drink offerings, pop up retail, and live entertainment. Hershey Park Halloween event hours are from 5 till 10 p.m. on Fridays, noon to 12 p.m. on Saturdays, and 12 to 9 p.m. on Sundays. Hershey Park Halloween will also be open Halloween night, October 31st, from 5 to 10, with Dark Nights open until 11 p.m. Dark Nights begins each night at 6 p.m. and extends 1 hour after the park closes, running Fridays and Saturdays until 11 p.m. and Sundays until 10. And of course, you can visit HersheyPark.com, Dark Nights, um, if you for tickets and everything like that. They're featuring 5 haunted houses, including a State of Evil, a charming new brownstone, has officially hit the market. Wanders Wander through the 13 rooms of this spacious mansion and prepare to be captivated by the meticulous care the live-in waitstaff has taken to preserve the past. While exploring, envision yourself tending to the enchanting garden and entertaining inside the lively game room and raising a glass inside the private wine cellar. But be vigilant or suffer the same fate as the previous owners. The next house is Mortem's Abattoir. Step into the back office where the secrets of the Mortem family's trade are kept hidden in plain sight. Uncover the devious tactics her nephews use to keep the business in the red, but beware, you just might meet Auntie Mortem in the flesh. Haunted coal mine curse of the Tommyknockers. Come face to face and shoulder to shoulder with the Tommyknockers and feel their wrath once more. Explore new depths, unveil hidden terrors, and brave the unseen in their haunted mind. And of course, Twisted Carnival, spelled Carnival, because that's what everybody spells it as for Halloween. The nightmare fueled fun never ends at the Twisted Carnival. Step beyond the tent and prepare to be mesmerized by a new hypnotic showstopper. The frightening spectacle will turn your reality upside down. Then they also have the Descent, Catacombs of Decay. A new merchant has reopened the antiquities shop and transformed it into a rare bookstore filled with an ancient and powerful volume. As Vera's abilities grow stronger, she pulls unsuspecting souls into the mysterious tunnels below. Be careful not to become part of her collection. And then they have 3 scare zones. Fallout zone, which is rogue radioactive material, has begun to emit an eerie green frog green fog. Crews are scrubbing the midway to isolate, contain, and neutralize any threats. You may avoid the fallout, but can you escape the madness? From those within. Sorry, I lost my place there for a second. Midway of Misery. The Misery loves company. The Decayed Brigade will welcome new sliders from the underworld and now have more corners to lurk in and ground to cover. Beware to those who flock to the flames. You never know who or what is waiting beyond the arch. Darkstone's Hollow. Ousted from his own show, Darkstone is now caged for all to see. While the showman that hawked his traveling mythical collection now frantically seeks shelter from the creatures that have claimed the Hollow as their own. So Hershey Park, that's one of them parks I've been wanting to go to for a while. Again, at Halloween time, I know I'm not going to be able to go, only because I will be working, of course. For those who don't know, I do work at Hell's Dungeon for Raz and everyone there, and I'm looking forward to this season. Uh, but moving on again, we're going to go all over the country for Six Flags. Six Flags Fright Fest is giving Halloween Horror Nights a run for its money this year with Variety previewing the impressive lineup of franchise-based haunted houses. So basically, you're going to see a lot more intellectual property haunted houses um, at the Six Flags this year. Much like Universal Studios, Six Flags is going IP heavy for Fright Fest 2024 with franchises including Saw, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Trick or Treat in the mix this year. They're joined by haunted mazes based on The Conjuring, Stranger Things, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, and even the popular DC Comics zombie horror series Deceased. Variety details in their exclusive breakdown that Fright Fest is set to open on September 7th, 2024. Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey and Six Flags Magic Mountain in Los Angeles will have the bulk of the haunted house mazes with Texas Chainsaw Massacre exclusive to Great Adventure and Deceased exclusive to Six Flags Mexico. So basically, unless you go to New Jersey, you're not going to get to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And if you're not going to go to Six Flags in Mexico, you won't see the DC one, the Deceased. Um, the remaining Six Flags locations across the country will have a mix of the mazes. The Saw franchise will celebrate the 20th anniversary of Saw with an all new experience, honoring the franchise's legacy of terror by plunging guests into the depths of Jigsaw's twisted mind. Guests will endure torturous trials and come face to face with some of John Kramer's most diabolical contraptions before time runs out. The Conjuring universe. Strap in for a tour of the Warrens' most hair raising and gruesome cases, including those that inspired The Conjuring, Annabelle, and The Nun. In each realm, encounters with cursed artifacts make you the target of The Conjuring. Stranger Things. The students of Hawkins School District decide to team up to create a little innocent Halloween fun for their community, but things quickly flip upside down and morph into something far darker. Army of the Dead. The city of Las Vegas is under lockdown following a recent viral outbreak, and survivors must look for an escape while battling the undead. And I believe this is the last one. Oh, there's two more. All right, Trick or Treat. If you haven't watched that movie, it's a great movie. Enter a dark and twisted candy trailed nightmare on a jack o' lantern lit path of supernatural encounters which tap into your deepest fears. With Sam, the infamous spirit of Halloween, as your guide, learn the rules of the spooky holiday before entering a world where tricks dominate treats. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Guests are cast as visitors to Harlow on the heels of the influencers set on revitalizing the town. But their arrival leads to a stunning and deadly secret being revealed. And I think it's based on that last abomination of Texas Chainsaw Massacre that should not be around. Deceased. Um, Based on the number one best-selling comic series, fans enter through the Hall of Justice to find that the DC universe has succumbed to Darkseid's anti-life equation. See the Justice League like never before as they fight to save the Earth or end it themselves. Will you be one of the few to survive these new scares of the DC universe? That just sounds amazing, and it's only going to be at one park. That that sounds. I mean, that just sounds like Six Flags is leaving money on the freaking table right there. That's ridiculous. For a limited time, tickets are now available at the lowest price of the season during the Fright Fest Extreme Flash Sale. I don't have any dates for that, so I would check on it if you plan to go to Six Flags. But I do not have any information on that right now. I'm sorry. Uh, Fright Fest Extreme admission options at Six Flags Magic Mountain and Six Flags Great Adventure include a single day admission, separate. Basically, it's a separate admission event ticket that will be required for Fright Fest Extreme admission to access to with access to all haunted attractions, rides, and entertainment. Guests can purchase an express upgrade for priority entry to all haunted houses. For season pass holders, Fright Fest Extreme Park admission will be included for all 2024 Gold, Platinum, and Diamond season pass holders, 6 Plus members, and Legacy members with a valid pass. An additional fee for entry to haunted houses will still be required. Kind of messed up. At Six Flags Magic Mountain in Los Angeles, Fright Fest Extreme will operate on select Thursdays through Sundays from September 7th through November 3rd, marking the park's largest and longest Fright Fest ever, with 32 nights of fright. The expansion and investment of added horror franchises will establish Six Flags Magic Mountain as the leader in California with a record combined total of 20 haunted houses and scare zones. The park will be open for daytime operations on select calendar days from 10:30 a.m. till 5 for Kids Boo Fest and Oktoberfest, with Fright Fest Extreme running from 7 till midnight on Thursdays and Sundays and 7 till 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. In New Jersey at Six Flags Great Adventure, Fright Fest Extreme will operate on a 32 terror-filled nights on select Wednesdays through Sundays from September 7th through November 3rd. The park will be open daytime. Same thing basically, open from 7:30 to 5, 10:30 a.m. to 5 for the Kids Boo Fest and Oktoberfest. And then Fright Fest Extreme running from 5 to 11 on select Wednesdays and Thursdays, 5 to midnight on Fridays and Saturdays, and 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. As the countdown to Fright Fest begins, guests are invited to prepare for the largest, scariest, and most extreme Fright Fest ever. The full lineup, including exclusive food and retail offerings, will be announced throughout the summer. So there's so much going on right now. To the point we even have a little bit more theme park haunt news because Busch Gardens Busch Gardens Tampa Bay has announced two more houses for their Hollow Scream event this year. Terror Through Time, which is a new house, a new zone, apparently it's a new scare zone. I'm sorry. Prepare to enter the architect's twisted gallery of horror, where the past 25 years of Hollow Scream nightmares come to life. Brace yourself for a terrifying walk through time as you encounter the creations that have haunted Hollow Scream for a quarter of a century. This is a returning house. Witch of the Woods, Rise of the Coven. A malevolent force has awakened in the woods. The Witch of the Woods, Seraphina, fueled by vengeance and dark magic, has finally summoned her coven together. They have twisted the once serene forest into a grotesque reflection of their power, leaving behind a trail of poisoned air, stagnant water, and withered life. Will you dare to enter and face the wrath of the coven? And finally, the one they announced, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but also one of the previous ones they announced was Shadows of Wonderland. The This will of course be joining the other two. Step back into Wonderland, although it may not be as you remember it. This warped dreamscape has come from years of torment under the Queen of Hearts' reign of terror. These once playful creatures have become bitter shadows, their anger fueled by Alice's abandonment. Now you must confront this distorted reality and face a vengeful queen who wants Alice and you gone. Will you conquer the darkness or succumb to the madness that has consumed Wonderland? So that's all of the theme park news. We got a few more stories for the haunt, a couple of horror, and then we'll take a break real quick. But if you live in Las Vegas, look for this. The House of Blues restaurant and bar inside Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino will launch a haunted brunch on July 28th. The horror themed brunch promises a fully immersive and one of a kind Vegas brunch experience featuring nods to favorite spooky characters and horror movies. Guests will be entertained by dancers, acrobats, and specialty acts that may provide an unexpected spine chilling jump scares. Doors open at 10 a.m., with the experience beginning at 11. Tickets are $59 for general admission and brunch, or $74 for VIP front row seating, brunch, and a mimosa. That sounds like something they're gonna do on a regular basis too. That doesn't seem like a one-off. But if you live in Vegas or you plan to go to Vegas, check that out. That looks awesome. And and personally, if it was me, I'd spend the extra like what, $15 to do the VIP, get a free get a free mimosa, and you get front row seating. Yeah, hell yeah, worth it. Moving on, the Mystic Museum in Burbank, California, has announced the grand opening of its latest immersive experience exhibit, Horror High Reunion. This new exhibit departs from the era-themed exhibits like Y2 Kills, 2000s horror, 90s slashers, of course, 90s horror based. And the new theme is based on a location, Horror High, a fictional campus where cult classics from all eras can come together. Visitors will explore haunted halls, lockers, classrooms, and school auditoriums, bringing a nostalgic and eerie school reunion to life. Sounds great. Sounds amazing. No information. I went to the website. I went to their website, to Mystic Museum's website. There is no information on when. There's no information on how much. Nothing. So keep an eye out on that. If you're interested, if you're in the California area and you're interested, keep an eye on it. But I couldn't find any information. Like I said, even from the website itself, there is really no information. If you click on anything there, it's going to take you to a shop to buy like basically memorabilia and stuff like that. Um, is a sad one here. Wisconsin Fairgrounds is up for sale. After 20 years of providing thrilling and chilling experiences, this modular haunted house offers over 20,000 square feet of reconfigurable terror. Included in the sale are a fully modular haunt. A modular haunt basically can be moved. Um, it's almost like they're all in trailers or something like that, if I remember right, or it's like separated by. It's a weird way how they do it, but it's designed to be moved easily. Um, so basically, included in the sale are a fully modular haunt, a modular gift shop and concession stand, mobile ticket booth, 6 semi trailers for storage, security cameras, fog machines, professional lighting, sound systems, costumes, props, a professionally designed website, and all social media platforms. This is a perfect opportunity for Halloween enthusiasts and entrepreneurs to own a piece of haunted history. For more information, if you are interested, contact the fearfam at gmail.com. That is fear, THEFEARFAM at gmail. So, yeah, if you're looking to buy a haunt, I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably really expensive. Um, there you go. Uh, Here's an interesting one. If you live in the state of Ohio, you know about this, but Blood Prison at the Ohio State Reformatory. The Ohio State Reformatory is where they filmed Shawshank Redemption. They filmed the Shawshank Redemption there. The scene in Air Force One, if you've seen Air Force One, the scene where the Russian general is being released and then gets shot down. Um, that that was filmed there. It's filmed a lot there. It's a very haunted, legitimately haunted prison. Um, I've been there before. It's creepy. It's awesome tour. If you ever get a chance, go on the tour. It's an awesome tour, but it's a creepy building. Especially because when you go on the tour, you go through the warden's headquarters and everything like that, like all the admission offices and stuff like that. And then you're at the very top of the building when you enter the prison. And when you enter the actual prison itself and look down, it is one of the most intimidating sights you'll ever see. Like it was it was creepy. Um, and we did have an experience that I'll talk about on a later episode. But Blood Prison at the Ohio State Reformatory will be open July 19th through the 21st for the annual Incarceration Music and Tattoo Festival. This is a festival that happens every year. It's basically you can go get a tattoo, go see some music, drink, all that good stuff, and it's on the grounds of the prison. Blood Prison is a haunt inside the famous, legitimately haunted prison, of course, featured in episodes of Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and many more. I believe it was actually featured in the first season of Ghost Adventures. Yeah, it was featured in the first season of Ghost Adventures. Um, but let's see, go through a few of these. We have a bunch of haunts that are opening this weekend, either this weekend or next. In Florida, we have the Wentz Brothers Festival of Fears in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. They're going to be open July 6th through the 20th. In Georgia, Haunted Hills Farm Trail and Hayride. They'll be open tomorrow. Only tomorrow. They're going to open tomorrow. Um, Summer Screen Drive-Through Trail. So I again, I'm not going to go through. I'm not going to the website. We really don't have time to go through every one of these, unfortunately. But it sounds like you can drive a Jeep or something through the trail. That's gonna be awesome. And That was in Jasper, Georgia. Paranoia Haunted House in Canton, Georgia. Um, July is going to be open July 13th. One night only for Midsummer Night's Scream. Moving on to Iowa, Hillside of House of Hell in Glenwood, Iowa, will be open on July 6th. Uh, it is presents Fright Night Fireworks, so that'd be awesome. A haunted house with fireworks. We have that up here, but it's fear. Um, in Abattoir, a haunted attraction in Indiana. Actually, they're open all year round. It looks like. They do something called First Saturday Night Frights, I guess, in the summer. They will be open July 6th, August 3rd, and September 7th. Keep a look out there. They're in, wow, Vincennes, Indiana? Uh, that is a very hard word to say. Moving on to Malice Manor. Malice Manor in Clarksville, Indiana will be open from July 12th through the 13th. Moving on, Necropolis Underground Haunted Attraction will be open in Indianapolis on July 6th. It's called Slaughter in the Summer, but they're going to be open on July 6th because Days of the Dead is happening that weekend. And they open up and give basically free tickets. Or, I don't know if it's free tickets or discounted tickets to people basically the people who are going to the convention who don't want to stay for the after party. So keep an eye out for that if you're going to Days of the Dead. I wish I was. I'm still ain't decided yet. Really, trying to get the money up. That's really what's holding us back. Um, Moving on to Kentucky, the Haunted Hotel in Louisville, Kentucky. By the way, in case I didn't say it, Necropolis Underground Haunted Attraction is in Indianapolis, Indiana. Kentucky, the Haunted Hotel in Kentucky is going to open tomorrow, June 29th, July 20th, August 17th, and Friday, September 13th. This for the Summer Slaughter series. The slashers are coming. Nicholasville, Kentucky, Wicked World Scaregrounds will be open July 27th this month. In Louisiana, Decomposed Haunted House in wow, HOUMA, Louisiana will be open. Well, never mind that. They're not. That's for December. I don't know why you put December up here in the summer. But moving on to Minnesota. So unfortunately, Louisiana, you don't get one open this week, this month. Moving on to Minnesota and Zumbrota, Minnesota, we have Rochester Horror Fright at the Farm. I think they're really just open. It's a hemp maze in Minnesota, and Canna Disc Golf really doesn't give much information when they're open. Except Monday through Friday, 11 to 6:30, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5, Sunday, noon to 5, but I don't know if it's the haunt. It doesn't seem like it's the haunt. But check them out anyway. It seems like a fun time. Moving on to North Carolina. In Middlesex, North Carolina, Dark Side Haunted Estates will be open for their Scary Christmas in July on July 12th and 13th. West Jefferson, North Carolina, Fall from Grace. Really doesn't have any dates here or anything. Woods of Terror in Greensboro, North Carolina. Again, that's a Christmas one. I don't know why Christmas one's on here. New Hampshire, the Dark Woods Haunted Event at Trumbull Garden. God, I gotta start looking at this bar, start reading them off because that's another Christmas one. Ohio, of course, Blood Prison, July 19th through the 21st in Mansfield, Ohio. That's for the Incarceration Music Festival. In Pennsylvania, Dudas Haunted Farm will be open July 13th through the 27th. For Bloodfest, the bloodiest night of your freaking lives. Bloodfest is going to be an over-the-top, once-in-a-lifetime experience haunted hayride where we are going to make you become part of the scene with special effects. So I would not wear good clothes. I would not wear good clothes because I got a feeling you're wear white clothes because you're going to get bloody. That can only be done on a warm summer night. Prepare to get a little wet and bloody, but don't worry, nothing will stain. Yeah, blood usually doesn't stain. It usually comes out pretty good. I still wouldn't wear white. Save the date and mark your calendars. Saturday, July 13th and 27th. 2 nights on the gate, so it's only the 2 nights. We're going to have a ton of special guests, vendors, food, alcohol, mechanical bull riding, and more. So go check out Dudas Haunted Farm in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. That's Christmas. That's Christmas. That's Christmas. Moving on to Rhode Island. Seven Cedars Farms and Haunted Hayride in Smithfield, Rhode Island. 7 to 8. They're going to be open July 13th only. 7 to 8:30 Low Scare Hayride. 8:30 to 11 you get the regular hayride. $20 a person. Moving on to Texas, Dark Hour Haunted House will be open this week. Will be open the 13th. I'm sorry, July 13th. Is there a Friday the 13th this month or something? I got a feeling there's a Friday the 13th in July. I haven't looked yet, but yeah. Dark Hour Haunted House in Plano, Texas, July 13th. Delusion Scream Park in Bryan, Texas will be. Oh, that's a Christmas one. Never mind. Christmas one. Terror Isle in Texas City, Texas will be open July 5th and 6th for Terror Isle Presents Horror Games. It's your team versus the monsters. In Virginia, my home state, actually my home city, one of my home cities or my home area, Chesapeake, Virginia, Frightmare is having Customers Revenge Weekend. You'll be armed with special demon stoppers, and it'll be July 13th only. So, yeah. South Military Highway, I believe that's probably at Chesapeake Square Mall. Not 100% sure on that, though it doesn't really say. But moving on to Wisconsin, we have Forest of Freaks for their zombie outbreak, July 12th, 13th, 19th, and 20th. They'll be open. Forest of Freaks in Janesville, Wisconsin. The Green Bay, Green Bay Fear Haunted House in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Is going to be open tonight from 8 to 11 and tomorrow for their Dead of Summer. And that appears it. That's all that's open this weekend. That will do it for the haunted house, the haunt industry news. We got a couple of stories for horror, and then we'll take a quick break. Couple of stories that interested me. Here's the thing. We're gonna start with Dexter. I have not a personal grudge against Dexter, but there is a reason I don't like. I never watched the Dexter show or series, and it is because of a haunted house. A few years ago, probably got about 15, 16 years ago, I'd say, right around 2008, I worked as a manager of a haunted house. What, more like 2006, I think. I was a manager of a scene in a haunted house. I was given one of the biggest scenes in the haunt. It was our tunnel right before the exit, and it was one of the areas where the tractor would actually stop and we could act out a scene. And I had a freak show planned. I had the whole thing planned. I had it built. I had it ready. We were ready to go like 10 days before Halloween, the haunt season started. And for anybody who works in a haunt season, you know how big of a deal that is. Most people during the haunt season will work all the way through Halloween, fixing the haunt, doing different things, trying different things out, tweaking this and there. Mine was ready. 10 days before we were supposed to open, the manager, the owner of the property comes to me and tells me that there's this he wants to do something different in the barn 10 days before we open, and we're going to change it because this new TV series called Dexter is coming out, and yeah, it's going to be the greatest, biggest thing ever, and he made me change it. I was pissed, and I've never been able to watch Dexter since. But for those who don't know, Showtime is creating a prequel series to Dexter called Dexter Original Sin, and they've been building up their cast this whole summer, 2024, with the team announcing today that Sarah Michelle Gellar will be has signed on to appear. The iconic actress will play CSI Chief Tanya Martin in the upcoming prequel series, joining Patrick Gibson, Molly Brown. They will also star in the upcoming series with Gibson playing the young version of Michael C. Hall's Dexter Morgan. James Martinez also stars as Angel Batista alongside Christina Milian as Maria LaGuerta, Alex Shimizu as Vince Masuka, and Reno Wilson as Bobby Watt. Patrick Dempsey from Thanksgiving, I remember from a lot of other things, plays Aaron Spencer, captain of the Miami Metro Homicide. Dexter Original Sin is set in 1991 Miami and revolves around Dexter Gibson as he goes from student to avenging serial killer. With guidance from his father, Harry, Dexter adopts a code designed to help him find and kill people without being discovered by law enforcement, at the same time as he begins a forensic internship at the Miami Metro Police Department. Dexter's showrunner Clyde Phillips will also be showrunning the prequel series, and there's a bunch of executive producers. But yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar is coming out to star in this prequel series. Don't know how big of a part that'll be, but it's still a pretty big deal. I like Sarah Michelle Gellar, the original, well, not the original Buffy, but Buffy from the TV series. So let me know what you think about that. But moving on, we're going to talk about. There's been some. I guess the cast for HBO original series Welcome to Derry continues to grow this week, with Deadline announcing that 10 new faces are joining Bill Skarsgård in the It prequel series. Um, Alexander Fuchs from the Hatfields and McCoys, Kimberly Guerrero from The English, Dorian Gray from Transplant and Star Trek Discovery, Thomas Mitchell from Gangland Undercover and Spiral, B.J. Harrison from Family Law and Maid, Peter Outerbridge from Batwoman and Saw 6, Shane Marriott from Fargo and Law and Order Toronto, Criminal Intent, Chad Rook, Joshua Hudchick, and Morningstar Angeline have all signed on. So basically, there's 10 more. It's going to be a huge cast. It seems like it's going to be a really big deal. Welcome to Derry will begin in the 1960s in the time leading up to the events of It Part 1. The series is also said to include the origin story of Pennywise the Clown. Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti and Jason Fuchs the are on board the Pennywise prequel project from Warner Brothers Television, with Muschietti set to direct several episodes. The series will air on HBO in addition to streaming on Max. And yeah, this is going to be the last one. Yeah, this is going to be the last one. This is our final story for this week, and it's a big one. A couple of true horror icons are being honored with stars on the Walk of Fame this year. The Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Walk of Fame selection panel of Hollywood Chamber of Commerce have announced the class of 2025 with Halloween director John Carpenter and Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, amongst those selected by the committee. In both cases, these feel long overdue, but is most certainly a better late than never situation. Woke up this morning, cue Sopranos theme, just joking, to discover I'm in great company in the Hollywood Walk of Fame class of 2025. Just to hear my name mentioned alongside Jane Fonda and Prince makes my old heart go pit-a-pat. Robert Englund, star of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, said on Twitter in response to the news. Carpenter had an on-brand response to the news, saying on Twitter, "Star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? There must be some mistake." But it's no mistake. The horror master is indeed getting a star, or getting his due. Peter Roth, chairman of the Walk of Fame Selection Committee, had this to say about it. The Walk of Fame has made history again. As chairman of the Walk of Fame Selection Committee, I am thrilled to announce the distinguished honorees who will grace the iconic Walk of Fame in the class of 2025. Each honoree truly embodies the essence of excellence in their respective fields. The committee and I cannot wait to see our honorees becoming part of this world famous walkway. Carpenter is one of the most influential directors in the history of horror, from creating one of the most beloved slashers of all time with Halloween to crafting perhaps the greatest creature feature in history with The Thing. His impact on the genre is practically immeasurable. Carpenter hasn't directed a film since 2010's The Ward. That was a great movie, too, The Ward. Though he has flirted with the idea in recent years. In any event, his body of work is well worth immortalizing. They're right. The article's right. John Carpenter's amazing. As for England, he cemented himself in cinema history when he graced the screen as Freddy Krueger in Wes Craven's 1984 classic Nightmare on Elm Street. England reprised the role a number of times over the years before retiring the sweater and claws after the 2003 showdown, Freddy vs. Jason. In the years since, England has built upon his legacy in the genre, starting in shows like Stranger Things and movies such as Lake Placid vs. Anaconda. No dates are set for the ceremonies. I take it back. There is one more story, but there is no No date set for the star ceremonies. I'll let you guys know as soon as I find out. The final story actually is something I discovered today, and it's pretty freaking cool. This summer, you'll have the chance to step into the world of Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Fans of the host with the most will be it says host with the most, it says the ghost with the most will be invited to enter the Netherworld waiting room and take their place on the cover of the handbook for the recently deceased. The handbook for the recently deceased, meet a sandworm, and more in this one-of-a-kind 11,000 square foot experience. Warner Brothers Discovery, global themed entertainment, and Fever are joining forces to bring the strange and unusual world of Tim Burton's Beetlejuice to life. Beetlejuice The Afterlife Experience opens Friday, August 23rd at Los Angeles' Ovation Hollywood, 6801 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood. Here's more from the official press release. Beetlejuice The Afterlife Experience will take guests on a journey into the iconic universe of everyone's favorite bio-exorcist through over 11,000 square feet of all new movie-packed touchpoints. Featuring recreated sets, live entertainment, and various photo ops, fans will be immersed in the world of the recently deceased. Inside the experience, guests will knock 3 times to reveal a portal and cross the threshold into the afterlife, where the one and only Beetlejuice awaits alongside a cast of eclectic ghosts. Grab an exclusive passport and take a seat in the waiting room next to a pair of ghosts. Take your place on the cover of the handbook of the recently deceased. Come face to face with a legendary sandworm and so much more. Themed food and beverage offerings will be available for purchase at the Afterlife Diner. Beetlejuice The Afterlife Experience will also feature a selection of limited edition merchandise and collectibles inspired by the film's distinctive imagery at the Afterlife souvenir shop, open to both ticketed and non-ticketed guests. Tickets for the experience start at $25. That is very reasonable. And are slated to go on sale Wednesday, July 3rd at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, exclusively on the Fever Marketplace. Fans are invited to visit www.beetlejuiceexperience.com and sign up for Fever's VIP list for exclusive pre-sale access to tickets. So basically, they're bringing this out right now because of course, of the new movie coming out. That's probably why they're doing it. Great place. But guys, we've gone an hour already just with news. I told you there was a lot of news this week, especially horror movie news. So we're going to take a quick break real quick. I say quick twice. We're going to take a real quick break and run some ads, and I'm going to take a drink of water and do what I need to do. We'll come back with Dead Sushi.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite seems trying to say is that on Retro Redoctopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Redoctopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
And welcome back. I hope everybody took a nice little quick break there. We are coming back, and of course, we are going to do Dead Sushi today. Again, this is a movie I first watched right about 2012, actually, right before I left Blockbuster. I quit Blockbuster in 2013. Go away, you, whatever you are. And it's a great movie. Like I said, it came from movies. The director, Noboru Iguchi. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm going to butcher names. I'm not going to get names correct. I'm really bad at it. So I'm going to do the best I can. Please, please, please don't yell at me. But I know I'm probably going to butcher a lot of these names. But Noboru Iguchi made a bunch of movies. He is your director, and I believe he is the writers. One of the writers. The writers are Makiko Iguchi, Noboru Iguchi, and Jun Sugita. Were the writers, but he's the what did I say? Noboru Iguchi is the director. He made a lot, especially back in this time. He made a lot of these crazy ass horror movies, and they're all fun. Um, like let's see, you got Robo Geisha, Mutant Girl Squad. Another one that I saw, and I actually thought about doing this one instead of Dead Sushi. Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead, Karate Robo Zobogar, The Ancient Dogu Girls. I mean, Dead Sushi. He was a director for the segment F in the ABCs of Death. For F is for fart. Bad Bug, Grave Torture. Like he's got a thing. He's got a what do you call it? He's got a way, and I enjoy these movies. But yeah, Dead Sushi, directed by Noboru Iguchi. Writers are Makiko Iguchi, Noboru Iguchi, and Jun Sugita. Stars Rina Takeda, I guess, as Kiko. She is your final girl, your star of the movie. She has worked a lot with him, it seems like. Karate Girl, The Ancient Dogu Girls, Attack on Titan Part 1. Looks like it's a live action Attack on Titan movie. Um, I don't know, recent TV show Wakeku Zaki. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing a lot of this. But has worked with I'm gonna Noboru Waguchi quite a bit, it looks like, and I'm not complaining. Again, she's really good in this role. But she plays Kiko. We have Kentaro Shimatsu as Yamada, Takamasa Suga as Nosaka, Takashi Nishim, Nishina as Mr. Hanamaki, Asami as she only has one name. Asami as Yumi Hanamaki, Yui Murata as Miss Anamoto, and there's literally just a bunch of names with no characters of who they played, no pictures, nothing. So take that for what you will. I'm not going to keep going through these names and like butchering people's names because I already feel bad about it. But yes, this is an experience. I haven't watched this movie in a while, and I watched it today, and I remember why I chose it. This movie, I'm telling you right now, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. There's going to be a lot of cussing, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not going to do this movie justice with how fucking crazy this movie is. So sit back and enjoy. We're gonna do our deep dive of Dead Sushi. I do suggest you still go watch it afterwards. We'll do the review, of course, but let's get started. So the movie opens up. It's basically Kiko and her dad making sushi. And then you get Kiko's voice explaining what sushi is. Basically gives you a little quick definition of sushi, a quick tutorial on how to properly prepare it. And then she tells us that it takes 3 years to learn how to properly make the rice, or how to make the rice, and then another 8 years to apply the proper pressure. Uh, of course, we now meet Kiko, and the gentleman making the sushi was her father. Never gave him a name, so we just call him Papa. She talks about how her father is an artist and that she is no good. Kiko is kind of clumsy, kind of shy, not believing in herself, all that kind of stuff. Then we show basically Kiko's doing some karate while explaining that her father says there are similarities to sushi making and the martial arts. I say karate because it is Japan, and I believe even in the synopsis to the movie, it says karate style regimen. Um, Wishing to rid her of her femininity, He basically trains her day after day, and then we then get Kiko setting down a piece of fish, and her dad basically she sets down a piece of fish to cut it, and her dad grabs her hand, slams it down, and tells her when making sushi to put yourself in the shoes of the fish you are cutting. And then that game they play with the pirates, where they or the people play when they're drunk as shit with a knife and they try to stab between their fingers. He kind of starts doing that to her, and like slicing at the same time, and she's dodging with her fingers and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool scene, but then he like ends up slicing her on a pinky. Um, Her blood lands on the sushi. It starts to turn red, and she begins to freak out. And then we just boom right to the opening credits. So already it's setting a good precedent. It's showing she's the shy, quiet, scared, timid type. Very clumsy. Dad's kind of a hard ass asshole. But we get a pretty funny montage of Kiko being trained by her father while the credits are rolling. First, she makes like 6 sushi, and her father just starts fucking whacking him this giant spoon, going shit, 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 shit. Then Kiko is then it'll freeze frame with him like smashing it with the spoon, and then it'll like the credits will roll over it. Then Kiko is pressing. Then we move to Kiko pressing the rice with a ball, and she's got a ball and chain on her right arm. More credits pop up. Then they get some martial arts with Papa, where her dad is trying to hit her with that giant ass spoon. As she holds a ball of rice, she's got like one of the balls of rice in her right hand, and he's like trying to smack her with it. Then it cuts to him. He hits her in the back of the knee. She almost drops the rice. Um, so she turns around and just kicks him right in the fucking face. Like just spin kicks him in the face, and then it shows the credit, and then it shows when it like almost like a scissor kick, but she kicks straight up and then straight down on his face as well. Um, Cuts again to shows him she's finally got a piece of sushi, and he just karate chops it, and that's the end of the montage. Um, and the opening credits, which that funny as hell. Again, I can't do it justice just talking about it. After the montage, it shows Pop. We go to Papa talking to Kiko, and he's telling her how she smells like a woman. Yeah, she kind of is a woman, which only adds to the fish smell. And I just said, "Damn." That's all he can say to that. Like, wow. He tells her she will never become a sushi chef. She explains to him that she has always tried to live it up to his expectations, and that she cannot help the way she was born. She runs out of the kitchen while he just looks on angrily. We cut to daytime, and Kiko basically has decided to run away from home, even though she's an adult. Uh, and she ends up taking a job at this resort inn as a server. I'm gonna keep calling them servers and waitresses. They look like geisha girls without the makeup, but I believe they're just like servers, I think waitresses, is what they call them. So that's what I'm gonna keep calling them. But yeah, the girls are dressed like in the traditional Japanese like geisha robes. Um, but she takes a job at a resort inn as a server. She's walking behind these other two women. The two women themselves have two trays each, and she has one. They stop, and the other they start giving her shit for only carrying one tray of food, saying that it's way too inefficient and that she should be carrying 5 tiers. So they go ahead and just throw their 4 trays on top of hers, and of course, it's too much for her to handle. She falls backwards and spills all the food on top of her. The girls start laughing at her, and then they um, decide to go meet the company that has decided to stay at the inn for the week. Um, we cut to the lobby of the hotel of the inn, and it's a group of men in suits, and then there's one woman in of course a business dress, um, walking in. Mr. What was his name? Hanamaki. I'm gonna call him owner most of the time because I didn't catch his name in this movie at all. But Mr. Hanamaki, he is the owner of the property, and he's welcoming the businessmen. We learned that they are from Komatsu Pharmaceutical. Um, and they're there, I guess, on a business trip. The women are lined up again, like I said, in their geisha style robes. And the hostess, Yumi Hanamaki, um, Mr. Hanamaki's wife, welcomes the businessmen to the hotel. She offers them, she welcomes them in to rest from their travels with some of their fine cuisine and relaxing in the hot springs. If you've never been to a hot spring, they're amazing. They are so awesome. Um, I went to one when I we went to one when we visited Arkansas way back in the 90s. Um, the boss says the women are first rate, and if the sushi is just as good, then he has no complaints. The woman with the woman with the group who ends up being a secretary. They don't give her a name, I don't think, unless that's who Miss Anamoto is the secretary. I call her secretary because again I didn't catch her name. Um, she tells Mr. Komatsu their sushi is spoken well of by food aficionados and that she has checked them out herself. She's double checked them basically. She's being a kiss ass is what she's doing. And Nosaka, there's another guy I wrote another guy in the group, but it ends up being Nosaka. Basically calls her a kiss ass. We also learned she's the secretary. I guess they did drop her name. I don't know why I kept calling her secretary. He tells her all she did was find an inn. He's like, calm down, lady. All you did was find the hotel. You didn't do anything special. Knock it off. The boss tells the two to stop arguing, and then Kiko comes running up, covered in food, to the horror of Yumi. She's covered in noodles. She's got a piece of sushi like stuck in her hair. Yumi and her husband apologize profusely for Kiko as the scene ends. They're basically doing the whole bowing thing, like we apologize, all that good stuff. We cut outside where Mr. Hanamaki and Yumi are basically scolding Kiko. Yumi explains that the inn has been around for 100 years and that they squeak by thanks to the customers who come for the sushi. They are in financial trouble. They accuse her of thinking this is a game, and Yumi basically tells her, she thinks she's faking. She's treating this like a game, and it really pisses her off. And then she does that fake cry thing into her husband's shoulder. Uh, Mr. Hanamaki, yeah, got it right. There we go. Mr. Hanamaki uh, tells Kiko that he merely inherited the inn from his parents and that Yumi had to suffer to become a hostess. Kiko apologizes and bows, which for some reason pisses Yumi off again, and they walk away. An older groundskeeper comes over to Kiko and tells her she still has some food in her uniform and hands her a towel. We learn the man is Mr. Sawada. Uh, who seems to be in a position. Like I said, it seems like he's in a position of authority, but they never really say. I know they say he's a gardener eventually. Kiko apologizes again to him, and he tells her just don't repeat the same mistakes. He's friendly old man. Not every job. He tells her not every job is for everyone, and he tells her to experience different jobs and to choose the one that suits you best. Sawada tells her that he's worked there for 20 years, and the job that suits him the best is gardening. He tells her that she's in a better position than he is and laughs. She starts to giggle, realizes she's offended him, and starts apologizing immediately. He grabs her arm, looks at her hand, and tells her that she has fine hands. He says these are the fingers suited to handle fish. She asks him what makes him say that, and he says instinct. We now cut to it's a random couple and the hiking through the parking lot of the inn. Um, the guy says that the woman didn't say it would take 20 minutes to walk from the station to the inn, and now there's going to be a penalty. Okay, they don't give us the names to these two, but now there's a penalty because it took a whole 20 minutes to walk to the station. Fuck you, dude. He tells her the penalty is a kiss. She calls him an idiot for being direct, and he tells her, we're dating, right? Most couples who are dating kiss. Then the female just friend zones him into the third dimension when she tells him she prefers to keep it platonic. Inside, you can see the man just get shot to the third dimension and just hanging out with Cthulhu. But he says that doesn't fly in 2012. And he grabs her, pulls her in, and kisses her. And now she doesn't seem to mind all of a sudden. Camera pans like past their shoulders, and now we see this basically a homeless guy, the guy you see in my picture here, on the stream. The camera pans to him sitting on the ground, and he's just eating. Um, the boy asks what he's eating, and he shows him the sushi. And he asks the couple, and the guy's like, "So where did you get sushi?" And he asks the couple, "Was it wrong for a man like me to be eating sushi?" He tells them it was wasting away in the garbage, so he helped himself. He tells them that he'll eat his shrimp, and they can keep it the kissing. The boy threatens to kick his ass, and he just basically starts kicking him repeatedly. Every time he tried to get up, he kicks him again, calling him a bum, all that stuff. The girl pulls him off, and the bum yells at the kid for messing up because the kid ends up kicking the plate out of his hands or the bowl out of his hand, and he yells at the kid for messing up his food. He says he doesn't care about his life, but he does not forgive a man who wastes food. Something starts wiggling out of this guy's coat, and he says the moaning of dead fish rings in my ears. And then the homeless guy throws what's in his coat at the couple, and they start running. They end up in the basement of the hotel where the thing essentially just cuts the female's head clean off with a bloody, nice little blood spout, all that good stuff. The head flies and it hits the boy right in the face, like face to face as they're kissing, and their tongues start like tonguing each other. Kind of gross if you think about it, but their tongue dance together as they're Frenching, and the thing basically it ends up being a squid, and it comes flying through the air, stabs right through her head, right into his head, and giving us our first two brutal kills of the film. The homeless man walks up and asks the dead couple if they're enjoying their kiss. He pulls the squid out of the head of the couples, and tells the squid basically that he used a lot of his energy for that, and that he'll get the bigger fish soon enough. Um, yeah, first kills were amazing. They were very good kills. Brutal, a lot of blood. Um, we now cut to the kitchen where we meet Sushida, who is the sushi chef of the hotel. He is making some sushi, and Yumi is sitting there complaining about the group being very demanding, the company being very demanding. Uh, they want more sushi and they want dinner earlier. Sushida tells Yumi that he'll just serve them the ready-made sushi, and that'll handle their dinner. That apparently isn't their specialty. She starts to say, Yumi starts saying, "Well, that isn't our special." He tells her that they do not possess discerning palates. Um, Next thing you know, Yumi, the married Yumi, starts kissing Sushita, and he drags her over the counter. They make it seem like they're about to have sex behind the bar or behind the sushi counter. We cut to Sawada walking down the stairs with dirty dishes, and Kiko runs right by him. He tells her if she rushes and runs around like that, what happened before will happen again. She tells him she doesn't have a choice because dinner has been moved up. He tells her not to mind selfish customers, and then we cut into the dining room, I guess, where the servers are serving the men, they're pouring their drinks for them and stuff like that. Um, we see, I'm gonna call this guy Perby Guy because you'll see in a little bit. From earlier, or Perby Guy is asking his friend Bald Guy. They never give these guys names, by the way. Again, they never give them names. If Miss, what did I call her? Miss Enomoto. I don't want to keep saying the secretary. If Miss Enomoto is banging the boss, he asks her if she's banging the boss because she's sitting right next to him pouring. She's basically being the big kick ass. Pervy Guy says if he could just get his hands on her tits, he'd die a happy man. He looks at Bald Guy and says, "Hey, let's go into my room and just pig out us with sushi. There, let's blow this popsicle stand." They leave the room, and we cut over to Kiko, who is pouring a drink. When a hand reaches out and just grabs her ass. She turned around, and it is Mr. Komatsu's hand, um, the boss, and she screamed, and he looks and he goes, "A touch on the leg, and you scream like a man." He then calls her an inexperienced waitress. Talking to herself, she says if he wasn't a customer, she'd pretty much lay his ass out. Um, which I thought was funny. We did get a couple of drum beats like boom, boom, and it introduces Shishida to demonstrate the art of sushi making. He starts making his sushi, and Kiko starts studying. She starts looking at the way he was making it before one of the other girls pulls her back and reminds her of her place, basically. Um, so first up is the highest rank of all tunas, black tuna. Then he makes shrimp, followed by a salmon roll. He does some roast salmon and the specialty of Cedo Inland Sea, fatty tuna. Uh, Kiko, basically in her mind, it's her thoughts. She says that the sushi is no good and that Shushida's way of making sushi is sloppy. Um, we cut over to Sushida serving the sushi to the boss. The boss says putting soy sauce on rice is wrong. Uh, Miss Enomoto, I'm going to remember that name eventually. Miss Enomoto says turn upside down, place the soy sauce directly on the fish. This emphasizes the natural flavor. Then rice side up, place on tongue and eat. So the boss takes us eat her and the boss both eat the sushi, and the employees are like right beside him going, oh, you're like just every move. The boss says it has melted across his tongue, and only the taste remains. Sushida offers to move on to the egg sushi, and this pisses Kamatsu off. Like he tells him he only wants to eat fresh fish. Miss Anamoto tells Sushida that egg sushi is too sweet. The customers only want tuna. Kiko just blurts out loud, "Stupid imbeciles," and apparently forgot that everybody can hear her. The boss slowly turns around and asks Kiko if she said something. And Kiko says, "No, no, no, I didn't." The employees, including one who has took his shirt off, this is a shirtless guy the rest of the movie, by the way, call her a liar, and they literally like start walking up on her like they're gonna beat the living crap out of her. The boss again asks, what she meant by that remark. Yumi and Mr. Hanamaki run up and they start apologizing for Kiko, you know, and saying that she'll be punished at once. Uh, Nosaka, I put one of the employees, but it's Nosaka, says she doesn't need to apologize, that he felt the same right way and she's right. The boss asks what Nosaka is, I say the boss, but Komatsu asks what he's implying, and Nosaka says he'll let her explain her comment. Kiko says no, but the boss demands that she explain, and they again start approaching her menacingly, yelling, "Speak, speak, talk." Kiko screams, and then we cut to Sawada, where we hear a smashing sound almost. At this point, I thought she had done beat their asses, but she had not. Sawada basically goes to investigate the sound, and we hear basically the meowing of a cat. Sawada tells the cat he has nothing for it today and opens the window where he thought he heard the sound. And the homeless man pops up and grabs Sawada by the head and pushes him back. I think he just knocks him out. You really don't get to see, but I think he just knocks him out. We go back to the dining room where Kiko is still being ridiculed by the customers. She tells him, "Fine, you asked for it." For starters, none of them understand sushi. Yumi actually smacks her in the head, but it doesn't affect her at all. Like nothing happens. Uh, Kiko points at Shushida and tells him that his sushi making skills are third rate. Her papa makes it by pushing down on the rice with his fingers. This way, the acid of the vinegared rice permeates into the fish, generating enzymes. The protein breaks apart and brings out the flavor. You don't push the rice you don't push the rice and the fish isn't fresh. In other words, he looks down on his customers. Mr. Kamatsu is now pissed, and he asks if this is true. Sushida basically looks like he's ready to kill Kiko, and Mrs. Automoto starts apologizing to the boss for letting him eat such poor quality sushi, and she says, "Let's leave and go somewhere else." But the owner, Mr. Hanamaki, um, begs them to stay, and Kiko says no. She has something to say to the customers as well. She looks at him and says, you put soy sauce on the fish, but you don't eat it fish side down, as it causes the soy sauce to run off, weakening the taste. Once the soy sauce has been applied, turn it over so the fish side is up and the rice side is down, so that it absorbs into the sushi. She also says you made fun of the egg sushi. The choice of ingredients, seasonings, and way of cooking reveal the skill of the sushi chef. She says they pretend to know sushi and pretend to be experts, and then she basically calls them fake gourmets. Kamatsu loses his shit. And Mr. Hanamaki runs at Kiko and fires her on the spot. Sushida yells, "That is enough." And he's boiling mad. When you insult the sushi chef, his next dish is death. He grabs his knife and runs at Kiko, and he starts swinging the knife. And Kiko says, "Stop, violence isn't pretty." She then basically proceeds to kick his ass, disarming him, and basically she ends up disarming him with one of the trays. Kicks his ass. Another guy, she just repeatedly kicks him in the fucking face. Um, Yumi guards him, "Darling!" Mr. Was it Hanamaki? Yeah, Mr. Hanamaki looks back and goes, "Huh? What? What'd you just say?" Yumi just pretends to fix her. Nothing, nothing. No, I'm good. No. And then we hear a snap, and she claimed, Kiko looks scared and says she took it too far, and now the boss tells his men to take her. They surround her ninja style, and they start basically her Yumi and the owner and Mr. Hanamaki take Sushida away. Kiko prepares herself, and we get a very fun karate, martial arts fight scene. Because it's funny as hell. Because first Kiko grabs one of the men by the belt, which causes him basically spins him around as she's pulling it the mummy game, and it ends up tying around his ankle, and he's sitting there naked, like butt ass naked, covering. He's got his hands covering his junk, but he's butt ass naked, and he just looks and goes, "Oh, I'm not wearing any underwear." One of the girls, one of the uh, waitress girls behind him screams, "Oh, revolting!" The other girl goes, "Where?" "Oh no!" And she covers her. She covers her. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was funny. Meanwhile, Kiko was just kicking the shit out of all these guys. She still has the naked man's robe belt, and it's still attached to his ankle, and she's like smacking and fighting the guys with it. She starts running around and starts clotheslining all the employees with the guy's belt. Every time he tries to reach for his rose to cover up, she pulls him away from it. He's screaming. This is utterly embarrassing as he's like being basically drug around the room, like in a circle. Um, and then she starts chasing the men around the room, spinning the naked guy in a circle. Shirtless guy decides to attack her. Throws a punch, misses. She dives behind him, grabs the rope because he's like standing over the rope and pulls it up right into his nuts. And he screams, "Too tight!" But he doesn't go down. Um, Naked guy reaches for his robe again, but Kiko grabs, that basically slams the belt, drags him, pulls him straight, and he kicks shirtless guy right in the nuts, and he finally falls forward. And then he basically falls forward and headbutts the naked guy in his nuts, and then two other guys start attacking her, and she just repeatedly kicks him in the nuts. Basically, if you like nut shots, if you're gonna laugh at nut shots, you're gonna laugh your ass off at this scene, um, because it's just guys repeatedly getting hit in the nuts. Shirtless guy gets up and goes to punch Kiko in slow motion, but Nosaka stops him. Nosaka, Shirtless guy asks Nosaka which side he's on. Nosaka says if the company is in the wrong, he's on the side of the victim. Um, and he asks the shirtless guy, "Isn't it wrong to use violence on a woman?" Miss Anamoto, yells that she's always hated Nosaka's lackadaisical attitude toward the company, and her loyalty is to Mr. Komatsu. Allow her to attack the woman, and Miss Anamoto starts chasing Kiko with a knife. They run out of the room. Komatsu grabs Nosaka and tells him if he weren't such a capable worker, he'd fire Nosaka right here and now. The next time something happens, and then all of a sudden a hand comes around and grabs the ball and grabs Komatsu by the throat. We see that it's the homeless guy, and he's basically holding Mr. Komatsu hostage. Um, the employees tell him to let him go, and homeless guy says, "What kind of attitude is that to show a senior member of Komatsu Pharmaceutical?" He reveals himself as Yamada, the former head of the new medicine development department, and they are shocked to see each other. He tells Nosaka he is shocked to see him still working for the company. And it's revealed 5 years ago on Komatsu's orders, Yamada was working on a serum to revive the cells of dead creatures. The research was successful with a horrible side effect. The cell injected with the serum turned into, basically the creatures injected with the serum turned into horrible monsters. Even worse, if the creature bit you, you became infected. Afraid of the repercussions, he laid the blame on Yamada. He had the police arrest him on false charges. Next thing you know, basically while Yamada is telling his story, a gun raises behind him and it fires him, shooting him twice in the back of the head, or in the back, really, not really the back of the head. Yamato drops dead, and you turn around and it's Mr. Hanamaki. Um, he says it's a gun his father gave him. He says he never thought he'd actually use it. He turns to Yumi and says, "Here, hold this." He tells basically Komatsu and his men to go to their rooms and relax while he takes care of the body and everything else. Um, so everybody walks away. Yamada, who is still in the process of dying apparently, uh, injects the serum into the squid sushi from earlier. He tells the squid to raise his gang and avenge his death, essentially. Uh, Meanwhile, Miss Anamoto is still chasing Kiko with a knife. She headbutts Kiko headbutts Miss Anamoto, who she gets turned around, and Kiko falls to the ground, holding her head in pain with her fingers up. The secretary stumbles backwards, and right into Kiko's fingers go right into her ass. Through the skirt, right into her ass. The secretary farts and says, "Ow," and then she starts chasing Kiko again. Yep, fart jokes. I'm down. from behind, Kiko sees, as she's about to, as Enomoto was about to start to stab Kiko, Kiko sees the flying squids, and the Miss Enomoto hits it by, turns around and goes, "Where?" Boom, hits it by mistake, and it ends up flying into the room that Pervy guy and Bald guy had gone to. Um, Sorry about that, guys. I had to sneeze. The bald guy says it seems that the sushi. It looks like the sushi's increased because neither one saw it come in. Pervy guy says he ordered the sushi, so just he ordered the sushi to just eat it. Bald guy worries about the boss being mad since the boss is paying for it and they ordered it on his dime. Pervy guy tells him the boss overworks him anyways, and he's not going to get mad at us for eating sushi. So they decide to sit. They sit next to each other and they say, "Let's close our eyes and enjoy the taste of the fish." Well, while their eyes are closed, the squid infects one of the tunas. I think it's the black tuna is what got. I really couldn't tell the difference between a lot of it. But the squid infects a piece of one of the tuna sushis, and the tuna creates these sharp ends that stick up. Bald guy grabs the sushi again, eyes closed. He eats the infected sushi and all of a sudden just starts splurting out blood, and I mean a lot of blood. The sushi falls out of his mouth. He says unusual, and the bald guy just says unusual texture and strong iron taste. He says he'll have another piece as the squid is basically just starts infecting them all. This one develops teeth, and when he puts it in his mouth, it bites the guy's tongue off. Two of the other sushis jump off the plate and start just ripping bald guy's throat out. The salmon roll is laughing as it eats the bald guy's tongue. I mean, like the sushi is laughing. The fish, and then all of a sudden, two of the fish sushi start bullying the egg sushi. So apparently, the sushi is also racist at this point. Hold on one second. Because they just don't like it because it's egg. The other guy starts running from this. Basically, Pervy guy starts running from the sushi. We cut back to Miss Anamoto and Kiko still fighting over the knife. Inimoto calls Kiko a liar for saying that she saw the flying squid. Kiko sees the flying egg sushi, and uh, Inimoto kicks her, and her head knocks the sushi off course, and they fall into a room and shut the door. Uh, Pervy guy is screaming that the sushi is coming to eat us. Secretary turns to see the salmon roll flying right at her. She screams and it just latches onto her tongue. The salmon roll starts ripping out her tongue, like pulling it far, far, and all that good stuff. Like pulling it out. Um, and while she's struggling, I guess the secretary, Miss Animoto's shirt starts coming open, and the guy sees it. And basically, as she's dying, it kind of looks like she's dancing the way they filmed it. I think she probably was as a joke, but Pervy guy decides now is a good time. He goes, well, she's gonna die anyway, and those titties are right there. His words, not mine. And he basically decides, you know what? I'm going for it. And he goes to grab her breasts. And just as he's about to grab the breast, the rest of the sushi come flying up and hit her square in the face and start ripping her to shreds. And he's like, "Oh, the boobs are still right there. Just gonna go ahead and he basically says he's still gonna touch them." The blood starts, dropping down her face onto her chest. He goes in again, but he looks right in her eyes. Her eyes get wide and then just burst out of her fucking face. Like her face exploded. It was awesome. And finally, Pervy guy goes, "Fuck this," and runs. And the sushi is a laughing again. That was one of my favorite scenes. In all honesty, that was one of my favorite scenes. That was hilarious. Where the basically that's why, and now you know why I call him Pervy guy. Um, He's basically Miss Animoto is on her deathbed. She is dying. She is getting eaten, and he's just like, "Well, the titties are right there. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and do this." Um, and he like literally, he's even saying, "Well, she's still alive technically." Um, so we go back into the room where Kiko locked herself in, and she finds Mr. Sawada tied up. Um, she asks him what is happening, and he says, "Some weird guy attacked me." She tells him about the flying sushi, and he asks her if her brain imploded. She just says yes. Kiko says if she doesn't stop this, everyone is in danger. Mr. Sawada asks why are you so timid, and tells her that she must stand tall with her youth. He tells her with her hands she could be a fighter, a cook, or even a hero. He points at a picture on the wall and reveals that he was the head chef until 5 years ago when until 5 years ago. He was always making sushi with his wife. As the head chef, he grew cocky and one day got into a fight with a customer, and then he accidentally stabbed his wife instead. And since that day, he's become knife phobic. Well, Kiko just looks and goes, "What about those?" Apparently, he didn't notice he was standing next to some knives. He screams and just throws himself into some clean sheets, hiding from the knives, screaming for her to cover them. And she just jumps in front and goes, "Meh," puts her arms out, blocks it. Apparently, that's good enough. He tells her that he wants to protect her talent and to not give up. And that's the end of that scene. And that was weird. In a movie that's weird in general, that was a little weird. Yeah. Mhm. Let's see. We cut to Mr. What's his name again? Mr. Hanamaki, walking up to Yamada's dead body and with a shovel, some rope, and that he's like asking, "Is what has he done?" And he turns around, and now Yamada's body is gone. Uh, Mr. Hanamaki, uh, looks left, and there's Yamada standing in the shadows. Mr. Hanamaki runs away from Yamada, and then basically he's running away from he runs away from Yamada. He starts running upstairs. Pervy guy comes around the corner, and they fucking like just ran headfirst into each other, like headbutt each other. Mr. Hanamaki yells at Pervy guy, and Mr. Pervy guy stands up, and the squid goes right through his fucking face. Like the squid is now embedded in Pervy guy's face. Mr. Hanamaki locks himself in a closet as we cut to Yumi, who is talking about wanting to dump her husband. Um, and Sushida is making more sushi. I guess Sushida is not dead. He tells her the situation appears to have been too much for the husband. She says inheriting the inn has made him childish and pathetic. Um, Yumi compares him to says compared to basically she just says Sushida compared to my husband, and that's it. That, nothing else. They just start making out. Um, Yumi wants him to do the special Japanese kiss that he does to her. And Shushida just says, "Oh, the one with the egg?" So he cracks an egg and he basically does the whole thing how you drain the white, how you move back and forth in the shell and you drain the white out and it's just the yolk. So he drains the white out and it's just the yolk in the shell. Puts the yolk in his mouth and they pretty much swap the yolk back and forth into their mouths as the sushi basically starts coming to life behind them. And the yolk finally breaks and they gag on it. And just they're like, "Oh, revolting. Oh, this is nasty. Why the fuck are you how was that turning you on?" Um they spit it out basically as the sushi now appears to be behind them singing. Yes, the sushi is singing. We go back to Kiko and Sawada. They're trying to pry the door open. They're like doing the whole thing where they're pulling on it. Sawada's pulling. Kiko's got him by the waist, and she's pulling with her face right down by his ass. And Sawada farts from the effort. It grosses Kiko out. Again, it's just a fart joke in the middle of the movie. And Sawada basically says, "Better out than in." Uh, they hear some laughing as the egg sushi basically is on Kiko's shoulder. It spits acid at Sawada, and you know Kiko knocks it off. Kiko goes to kill it, but it's shivering. Like it's shivering. It's like it's scared. Kiko can't kill it. The egg sushi starts singing, and Kiko says any sushi that can't that sings can't be good, can't be that bad. And now the egg sushi that spits acid is her friend. She uses the egg sushi's acid to start to melt. They end up using the egg sushi's acid to melt the door, and they have now escaped the room. We cut to Shishida apologizing to Mr. Komatsu and his and three of his employees, or all of his employees, basically, all the ones except for the two that are dead now, taking the blame for what happened. Basically, Shishida's taking the blame for Kiko and everything. Um, Komatsu says they are all to blame and they will work together to cover it up. Meanwhile, he and his men want body sushi with the women, the two waitresses that are left. The women say they won't do it. They're basically like, no, we can't do that. That's shameful. Blah blah blah. Mr. Komatsu says he will testify to the police, and Yumi tells the girls that their future at the end is at stake. So now the girls are like, all right, whatever. Rip off their robes, and now they're in lingerie, dancing like they're not being forced to do this. Basically, they're in bra and panties. They lie on the conveniently placed tables that are already in there, ready for this. As Yumi starts to do the robot, Sushida basically starts placing the sushi on the half-naked women. Um, and then Komatsu tells Nosaka that you get what you want by exploiting human weakness. We now cut to Kiko, who runs into basically the guy with the squid in his face is still alive. She runs into him, and he says it's pulling his face so hard it is making him smile, and he's not smiling. His skin is coming off his face. Like, this is a really good effect. I don't know if it's CGI or what, but it's a really good effect. It looks gross. He tells her that he won't let her pass, as it is his duty to tell the boss they are under siege by man-eating sushi. He says before he dies, he wants praise from his boss, from Komatsu, and he won't let her take the credit. We cut back to the company, and they are basically behind the women, and they start eating the body sushi. Everyone except, of course, Nosaka, because Nosaka is still sitting on the couch. Komatsu asks Nosaka why he isn't eating, and Nosaka says he won't be made a fool by doing foolish things. Shirtless guy asks what's foolish about eating body sushi, and Nosaka says that they can't figure it out for themselves. That's why it's foolish. Shirtless guy goes to attack Nosaka, but one of the women kind of go and she tells him that it feels like the sashimi is biting her. They inspect, and they kind of do see you. At least we see it that it's biting her. Back to the pervy guy and Kiko. Kiko tells the guy that basically slides underneath him and says she'll make it to them faster than he will. Pervy guy basically starts pulling in his face more, and he asks Kiko for that. His last request is he wants a kiss before he dies. He says he has no hope, and a kiss will give him hope. Kiko's like, "Fuck you." She screams, and basically, pervy guy's face tears apart, revealing like the muscles and tendons on his face. Pervy guy runs into the room to warn the boss. Nosaka takes him down with like a judo toss. Um, and then the sushi starts biting the other girl, and she says they're all biting her. Uh, Blood starts spurting out at this point, and the sushi starts laughing again. And now it's a friggin' bloodbath as both the women basically start to get bitten by the zombie sushi. Um, Komatsu tries to pull them off with chopsticks, and that isn't working. Then we cut to Sawada, who is running from the sushi and ducks into a room with Mr. Hanamaki in it. Um, Sawada has a knife all of a sudden, and he's basically fighting back with the sushi, while the boss tells him to quit screwing around. Um, Well, Mr. Hanamaki tells him to quit screwing around. Kiko is now being chased by the Sushi. She stands to fight, but the egg Sushi basically pulls her down Matrix style as they fly past her. Um, the Sushi makes its way into Komatsu's room, and it's fucking mayhem. Kiko enters and just starts taking out Sushi with a mop stick. Sushida tells Yumi to shoot the Sushi with the gun that she had. She thought it was her husband's gun. She drops the gun as a piece of sushi cuts Kiko's hand. Nosaka grabs the gun and just starts basically blasting the sushi. Um, Sushida basically gets his eyes taken out and just starts swinging around a knife. Um, the sushi ends up. I really thought that he was going to end up like stabbing Yumi, but he doesn't. He just basically the sushi flies up, cuts his nose off and then his lips. Yumi goes to save him, but trips and lands on the sushi with Sushida's lips on it. Wow, I don't know how long I've been muted. Uh, we'll go ahead and start back up here. Sushida tells Yumi to shoot the sushi because she has the gun. She has the gun that the owner's dad's gun, basically. As a piece of sushi cuts Kiko's hand, Nosaka takes the gun. He starts shoot. Basically, the gun ends up on the ground. Nosaka grabs it, starts shooting at the sushi. Um, Sushida gets his eyes taken out. Like the sushi slides by and slices him. Um, and he basically starts swinging the knife around. I thought he was going to stab the wife. I really did. They thought he was going to stab Yumi, but he doesn't. But the sushi does end up cutting his nose off and his lips. Yumi goes the same, but then she trips and she lands on the sushi with his Shishida's lips on it, and I think she swallows it. The girls on the both the girls on the table are now dead. I wrote that down. Apparently, that is not true at this point. We go to shirtless guy. He's swinging this bat around. He's knocking the sushi out of the air. Um, then they start cutting him, like as they fly by him, and he screams, "Bare skin cuts too easily." Komatsu grabs Nosaka and says, "Let's go." Nosaka is worried about everyone else, but Komatsu drags him away anyways. Kiko checks on the body sushi girls and sees one of them has a hole eaten inside of her stomach. They've eaten inside and they're basically all this sushi starts flying out. Great scene, chaos everywhere. Again, I can't do it justice. Go watch the movie and it's just fucking chaos at this point. Um we cut to Yumi running for her life as, upset that Shishida's dead. And then we see a shrimp. I laughed my ass off at this scene. There's a shrimp sushi on the ground going, like, giggling. Runs up, she's upset, crying. Runs up her leg and right up her vagina. And this shrimp sushi is inside of her. And Yumi screams and makes this face. And it is the greatest face I've ever seen, and I could not stop laughing. Uh, and she didn't even scream. She goes, "Oh, it's in." She starts ripping her robes off while her husband stands there and just watches this shit. And she screams for Shoshida and her husband now, and Mr. Hanamaki. Sorry, Mr. Hanamaki is pissed. He tells her that he knew they were screwing, that her and Shishida were screwing, and he pulls out a knife and he tells her that she betrayed him, that he took her off the street and made her a hostess. Mr. Sawada appears behind him and says, "No, you do not says not to turn a knife onto your wife. They took a vow to never hurt one another, and isn't that sad that you two don't get along?" And blah blah blah. Hanamaki drops the knife, and it's a touching moment, I guess. Um, we cut over to Komatsu and Nosaka running through the arcade at the end. And then they happen upon the regenerated corpse of Yamada. Yamada tells them he's been having a blast watching the company fall apart over sushi. Yamada says he had an epiphany upon his death, and that was to see Komatsu fall himself. Like basically watch Komatsu fall himself. And Nosaka. When arrested, basically Yamada reveals that when he was arrested, Nosaka was the mastermind behind the plan to frame him. Nosaka tells Yamada he didn't have a choice. He was doing what was best for the company. And Yamada pulls out a tuna sushi, and that's apparently is full of serum. And he says, with this tuna sushi full of serum, I will take you down. Nosaka handcuffs Komatsu to a statue. And Komatsu basically looks betrayed, and Nosaka tells him, I've been trying to get rid of you for years. And now he's lucky to have such a great chance to do it. Nosaka says everyone says he's cut out and he's going to be the next boss. And he runs away. And we turn back to Yamada, who is now turned into a human-sized tuna. He is a giant human-sized tuna. The rest of the movie, I am calling him Tuna Yamada because it's fucking funny. And Tuna Yamada has a fucking axe. Tuna Yamada runs at Komatsu and just starts swinging the axe, and he accidentally, he hits the handcuffs instead of Komatsu, and it frees him. And they do the whole, huh? Like they're trying to go, huh? And then Komatsu runs, and Tuna Yamada starts running at him, and just starts fucking swinging the axe at him. Komatsu, running away, Komatsu runs in and hides in a room, and it turns out to be the bathroom where people take their baths in the hot springs. Komatsu hears some footsteps, and he just runs and dives into the pool, or the giant bathtub, I guess you could say, thinking it was Tuna Yamada. All of a sudden, a completely random naked woman walks in, and the only thing not being shown is a towel covering her vajayjay. This is our first and only glimpse of nudity at 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 29 seconds into the movie. If you're counting, she just sits there, boobs out for everybody, commenting on how peaceful and relaxing this inn is, and that she's so happy that she's all alone, just her in the bath. And boy, is she in for a surprise. So in these baths, of course, there's a shower. They have to shower themselves off real quick before they get into the tub. She's showering herself. She puts some shampoo in her hair, starts washing her hair. And while she's doing it, Gamatsu sticks his head out of the tub and is like, hey now. She starts going on about how nice the inn is and how there's no perverts or peeping toms, that it's just not possible here. But if there was a pervert, she would show no mercy and call the police on them. She would sue and trash their social status. That's when Komatsu ducks back under the water. Finally, she says she'll see that he gets the death penalty. Her eyes are closed this entire time. She doesn't see anything behind her. Komatsu has snuck out of the water, and he's standing there looking at her. Tuna Yamada now walks in and just fucking beheads Komatsu. Just chops his head off. Blood starts spurting out of his neck hole, and starts showering her with the blood. And she's just comments, "Oh, this how warm the water is." Completely oblivious that a giant tuna guy just beheaded a dude behind her, and she's bathing in blood now. That's the last we see of her. Shirtless guy says they need to get out because the sushi can't get outside. Basically, it's we cut over to sushi guy or shirtless guy and a random one of the employees with Kiko and one of the body sushi girls. The one that didn't die apparently. Well, the body sushi girls looked outside and she starts pointing and goes, "Yeah, well, we can't go outside." The camera goes outside to a tree and there's two pieces of sushi going at it, banging against the tree, mating basically. Shirtless guy screams, "They're mating." They basically do the whole scene and they finish up, and thousands of babies come flying out. And shirtless guy says, "We've reached the point where they no longer make sense." And I'm just, this whole fucking movie doesn't make sense, and I love it. Body sushi girl freaks out, screaming they're going to die. Eggy is on Kiko's shoulder again and tells her not to give up. Kiko makes this emotional speech. I didn't write it down because I was short for time, and it was just basically, let's not give up. Kiko says maybe they can live more than they expect to. Sawada appears with Yumi and Mr. Hanamaki. Um, and Sawada praises Kiko, tells her what a great job she's doing. Shirtless guy, and the guy that Shirtless guy was holding up starts spitting out rice, and Shirtless basically takes the bat and beats him down, kills him. Then all of the rest of the employees are now appearing as zombies spewing rice out of their mouth. Sawada says there's a barn outside they need to try to get to, and the group basically runs out. They're on this trail. The zombies are following them, as well as a swarm of zombie sushi um, starts flying at them. So they start running. Body sushi girl number 2 stops in the middle, and they just swarm around her and start devouring her. She tells it's like a feeding frenzy almost. Body sushi girl tells everyone to keep running and use this time to escape. And after a couple of minutes, Sushi Girl 2 is now a skeleton. Kiko apparently did not listen and just watched the entire thing because she's still standing there. Shirtless guy stands back and starts swatting them away with a bat. One sushi roll busts out a fucking flamethrower, and I think it's like the torch that they used to roast the salmon. So I think this is the roast salmon one. And he just like lights shirtless guy's face on fire. Shirtless guy yells, "Fucking roast sushi," and basically before his face like starts burning and that. He says there's only one thing left he can try. Or he's only one thing left to do and he's gonna give it a try. He eats the sushi, like flamethrower and all, and his fucking head explodes. Sawada stops before the barn and Kiko has to save his ass by kicking the sushi. They run into Nasaka, basically they enter the barn. They run into Nasaka, who is eating some ramen noodles. Um, Sawana, Sawada and Kiko run into Nasaka, who is eating some ramen. Um, Kiko asks him how he can eat at a time like this, and Nasaka tells her, "You can't survive if you can't eat at a time like this." He reveals that he rose from extreme poverty, which is why he can sympathize with her situation. Um, and he mentions that he doesn't like fish, so that's why he never ate the sushi. There's a banging on the door, and the zombies start basically knocking down boards to get in. Um, Mr. Hanamaki, Kiko, and Sawada try holding them off, try to put the boards back on. Yumi calls for her husband and basically says she's done for. She starts spewing out the rice like the zombies are, and he keeps wiping it away, and it keeps coming up. Then we get this touching moment where Yumi apologizes for cheating and says this is her punishment. Mr. Hanamaki basically forgives her and Yumi says farewell as the zombies make it in. She knocks the others out of the way and she runs outside to join the zombies. Mr. Hanamaki says the only one she's allowed to bite is him, and he runs outside and they basically kill the husband. Mr. Hanamaki is now dead as well. Um, Sawada and Kiko board up the door, but they run upstairs and there's a hole in the top, and the sushi starts coming in. Sawada says the sushi coming are the sushi of his dreams before one bites him in the neck. Sawada screams he doesn't want to die, and he does this loud scream which produces these sound waves, which somehow kill the sushi. They Kiko says Sawada needs to keep shouting, and they might be able to defeat the sushi. Sawada says he wants to slice sushi once more. Apparently he doesn't have a knife phobia anymore. Tuna Yamada busts into the barn and demands that they hand over Nosaka or face death. Sawada and Kiko both just basically run over and put on sushi chef uniforms because they have time for this. Kiko now has sushi nunchucks. You read that? You heard that right. Sushi nunchucks, And Kiko goes outside and starts fighting the zombies that are they're slowly trying to get to her. And she starts fighting them, knocking them out with the nunchucks and that. Meanwhile, Sawada is inside screaming and just starts cutting up the sushi as they fly at him. He knocks them dead with his sound waves and starts making them better sushi apparently. Kiko is still outside having karate fights with zombies. Yumi and Mr. Hanamaki appear behind her. Yumi, she's basically Kiko's fighting with zombie Yumi, and Mr. Hanamaki appears behind Yumi and just grabs her boobs, and she spits rice out at him. The zombies, for some reason, just start spitting rice into each other's mouths, and Yumi and her husband kiss, and they fall down dead. Like the zombies are dead now all of a sudden. Now it's just Kiko with the nunchucks versus Tuna Yamada with his awesome axe. They fight around for a little bit. Yamada disarms Kiko, knocks the nunchucks out of her hands. They fight around the room a little bit. They start fighting upstairs. It's just your basic, karate martial arts fight. Yamada literally, Kiko ends up on the second floor. Yamada jumps from the ground to the top floor, lands, and then just flops around for a moment like a fish out of water would. I thought that was funny. Yamada says it's time for the fish of the day and just starts spitting out rice and fish, and it becomes a giant salmon roll battleship. You heard that right. It is a flying giant salmon roll battleship. The sushi battleship literally just starts fucking shooting at Kiko. Like shooting its guns at Kiko. Chains start flying out of it like from anchors. Eggy shows up as chains starts coming at her. Basically, it's like Eggy kisses Kiko and then flies up to fight the battleship. Yamada drops down to finish off Kiko. They do a little more fighting, and then all of a sudden, a gunshot rings out, taking out Yamada. And it turns out it was a tranquilizer dart. As Nasaka says, he didn't want to kill Yamada because he wants to take him back to his company and do experiments on Yamada. Yamada laughs and asks Nasaka if he ate the ramen that he left for him. Yamada tells Nasaka that a salmon roll made its way in while he was preparing the ramen. And so Nasaka ended up eating infected ramen. Nasaka's face starts swelling up and pus starts spewing from the face, except it isn't pus, it is ramen noodles. Yamada laughs at him as basically Nasaka's face explodes and he drops dead. Yamada calls him a chowderhead, and now we get more Kiko and Yamada fighting. Again, nothing special about the fight scene, just them fighting back and forth. Um, he turns Kiko around and smacks her on the ass and tells her that Yamada tells her that she's awakened his sexual desires. Um, that giant squid comes flying in and goes after Sawada's face as the sushi battleship blasts Eggy, shoots Eggy, not really apart, but just shoots him. Yamada runs at Kiko to finish her off. Sawada ends up biting the head off of the squid, and Eggy gets behind the battleship and uh, hits it in the back as the battleship fires off its chains, and it ends up tying up Yamada. And Kiko runs at Yamada and does a super jumping kick to Yamada's head, which sends Yamada into the air. Basically, it ends up Yamada and the battleship end up tied together. Um, Kiko runs at Yamada, does a super jumping kick to Yamada's head, which sends Yamada flying into the air with the battleship, and basically the battleship explodes, blowing up the sushi battleship and Tuna Yamada, and Eggy falls to the ground dead, unfortunately. Kiko kisses Eggy and says thank you. Kiko goes up to Sawada to make sure he's okay, and he has made his special sushi. He tells her it was the infected sushi, except he removed the nerve cells, so it won't turn her basically into a zombie. And I'm still not fucking touching that. She takes the sushi and she really, she likes the sushi. She loves it. Sawada admires her fingers again, and Kiko tells him she'll try her best, try to be her best. We cut to Kiko. She ends up showing up back home. She apologizes to her father for running away, and Papa tells her that she grew up while she was away. He says he thought a handsome sushi chef had walked in. Then all of a sudden, there is another zombie sushi on her shoulder who attacks, goes after the father. She catches it, remembers the nerve ending, makes it sushi, and she says she's the only woman in the world who can make man-eating sushi. Roll credits. That is dead sushi. There is so much that fucking goes on in those last few scenes. I do apologize. I somehow muted myself for a little bit there. I don't know where I left off when I got muted. So I just started in a decent spot where I thought hopefully I didn't repeat myself and hopefully I got everything out. Even so, go watch this movie. Um it was we'll do the what do you call it? The review here in a moment. Let's do a couple of bits of trivia and then we'll head out. I know it's getting late. Uh, Director Noboru Iguchi says he got the idea for the film after Piranha 3D 2010 was a hit in Japan. He'd always wanted to make a film about people being attacked by animals and was searching for the right theme, something high impact. Since he also loved Attack of the Killer Tomatoes from 1978, he decided he wanted to make a film about food that attacked human beings. Uh, and which was also set in Japan. Ultimately, he came upon the idea of a group of people who were attacked by sushi. The opening fight scene with the naked man spinning around on the ground took a day and a half to film, which was the longest spent on a scene during the 10-day production schedule. Director Noboru Iguchi said the actor was pretty embarrassed because he had to stay naked in front of several actresses almost the entire time. Apparently, it had its world premiere at the Fantasia Film Festival, July 22nd, 2012. Had a great soundtrack too. Let's see. Do we have anything on? It doesn't have anything. I think because I don't know if Japan keeps track of the money it made and stuff like that. The last end credit of the movie was no sushi were harmed in the making of this motion picture. So that is Dead Sushi, guys. Needless to say, I've said it through the entire movie. It's amazing. It's fun as hell to watch. The right amount of humor, the right amount of action if you like martial arts movies. The only I can't even say it's a downside for me because I don't mind it, but I know a lot of people don't want to really watch movies with subtitles. And unfortunately, with this one, you're going to have to because it is a movie made in Japan, released in Japan. It is a Japanese movie with English subtitles. Other than that, watch the movie. It is fucking crazy. Like I said, I can't do it justice. I really can't. I had a fun time watching it. This is one of the harder ones for me to do on here though, because taking notes I had to rewind a lot. Because again, I don't speak Japanese, needless to say, and I had to keep going back to write down words and what happens and stuff like. Yeah, it was a little harder to do, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So guys, so basically let's do this. We're gonna review it. Let's review it again. I've done this quite a bit and we've got a lot of 4.5. That's about 4.75 sushi rolls, salmon rolls. On this one, it's great. Go watch it. Even if you've listened to the whole episode, go watch it. Experience the wackiness and the craziness for yourself. But guys, it's been very fun. Where to find me? You can always find me at Bloody Binge Movie Podcast on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. You can also find me on the Owl Light Network every other Wednesday, including this coming Wednesday, for Matt and Monsters, the wrestling podcast, where we talk about wrestling and we also do commentary on MMW, our WWE 2K24 Fed we got going on. Each one of us has our own roster that faces each other, and we all talk shit and all that stuff. It's a fun time. Come check it out. Also, you can find me if you want to really find me on Facebook. It is STEPHAN Henderson. on Facebook. That's how you can find me there. Look for the picture of Coney the Clown. Um, Also, you can find me on Twitch at Sewer Dwellers. I think it's Sewer Dwellers 78. I haven't done too much on there yet. I'm trying to get some more going. But I believe that is all. Here next week, join us. We're gonna do a shark movie. We're gonna do in honor of Shark Week. I'm gonna pick out a shark movie to do. So tune in for that next week, next Friday, 4 p.m. Hopefully we get on time again. Um, and as always, that's the other thing I want to announce. In 2 weeks, I believe on the 12th of July, we're going to do an episode of Shivers. Potentially do an episode of Shivers. I haven't really decided on a theme yet. I want to do some kind of cryptid, and but I haven't really done the research on them yet. So we'll see what happens. So keep an eye on July 12th. For those who don't know, Shivers is my paranormal episode or paranormal show that I do every once in a while. You can go back through the archives on YouTube, especially, and check out our other two Shivers episodes on Colonial Williamsburg and Haunted Gettysburg. Um, and you can also check out any of the other movies that we've done, including our first original movie, the first episode I ever did with Matt Props from the Matt and Monster podcast. We did Body Slam on WrestleMania weekend. We've done Vice Academy. We've done so many great movies. So go check them out. And guys, watch more horror movies and be good to each other. We'll see you next week.